Friends, this program is brought to you by the generous support of people like you. Founders Church of Religious Science, a center for spiritual living in Los Angeles, is committed to providing you with inspirational messages daily and weekly to enhance your spiritual journey into your best possible life. To become a supporter, please visit our website or click the link on this page to inform you on how to make your gift. We thank you.
Hello, friend. Today I'd like to talk to you about guide for reaching for your star. I think we have come to a time, especially after COVID, where we need to feel a sense of the springtime in consciousness, not just in the weather and in the times around you. We see the flowers blooming and everything is beautiful at this time. But what about you on the inside? How have you come through the Easter period? How have you resurrected? And speaking about resurrection, there is a wonderful image of what is happening to us. We have gone through what would seem to be a crucifixion and a death and a resurrection now and an ascension. Let me tell you what I mean by that. All the difficulties that we have had, losing jobs and losing people, feeling depressed because we're sheltering at home and all these things, and now continuing to wear the mask. These things have taken us out of our sense of what is normal. So what we have to do is reimagine ourselves. And that's what I'm calling a guide for reaching for your star. So you have gone through the crucifixion, you've gone through the death. This is our resurrection, and the ascension is when you have achieved in consciousness a sense of your possibilities, your vision, your purpose, and you're moving forward into this life with a sense that all is well with the world, and certainly you're grounded in that allness. So here's what I'm going to be covering. I'm going to be covering clarify your purpose, which is your star. Clarify your personal values, which is what guides your purpose. Be optimistic. Be persistent. Learn from failure. Know you are creative and care about others. That seems like quite a bit to get done in this time. So I'm not promising you that I'll be able to get it all done, but I'm going to try. So I want to start with the fact that the psalmist says, I praise you because, he's talking to God, I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. If you just consider that a moment, contemplate that as your meditation for right now, and consider fearfully and wonderfully made. When you see the word fearful in the Bible, think about awesome. It's not so much fear. I know they use that word, but it's not really describing fear. It's describing how awesome you are. And you are awesome. And if you can just shift the focus from your ego to how it is that God has made you with this amazing potential to do good, that will get you out of this feeling of walking around as if you're better than anybody else. No, we should walk around as if we are good and just as good as anybody else. So this psalmist saying this, and I think he's taking this from the fact that the Genesis writer, the priestly writer of Genesis 1 says that we're made in God's image and likeness. So this is where we are, and we are to be fruitful and multiply, and we are to have dominion. But how are you going to have that without recognizing that you and I have the responsibility for choosing how we want to be in this world, so it will lead to our becoming. And this is really what life is. It's not a place that you reach. You're in a process of becoming all the time. And that's the reason you have a purpose. The purpose is not simply to achieve something, but it is to achieve the path of becoming. And so what you want to do with your purpose is to recognize that you're co-creating life with God. You're not just here doing it by yourself, nor is God just doing it for you, without your participation. This is a participatory universe. That's what we're in. And we are here to participate. And so the idea is that you're going to do what I call creating your heaven on earth. You say, well, how can anybody do that? I said, well, that is the attempt. It's like Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill. It doesn't really accomplish that, but it is what we aim toward. And the way you might think about it is the way Jesus said it, that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This is a guide for how we are doing it. We're making the joy of what is described as heaven be the joy and happiness of us on earth in the work that we're doing. And Blake puts it another way, William Blake, the poet says, to see the universe in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of our hands and eternity in an hour. This is consciousness. This is a way in which we approach everyday life as if it is the most wonderful thing that there is. And it is, because it is God who made it all. Now, taking the idea of being made in the image and likeness of God, you can understand that what we are doing is we are creating an image of goodness on the earth. And so you have to ask yourself, what am I to do? And when you do that, you will find that the tendency is to do two things. One, you're going to look at what your talents are, because that's how you're going to work for your purpose. And two, you're going to have to see what the needs are that you're going to fulfill. And as you come to bring those two together, what can I do? Instead of just becoming a critic of life, oh, it is bad here, it's bad there. Yes, you can see that. But what you should also see are the opportunities that are there for you to do work, for you to make the difference. And that is how you determine your purpose. And you said, well, how am I going to find that out? And one of Jesus's wonderful sayings is, fear not, little flock. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. That kingdom involves the purpose. Now, if you take that as a meditation every day and you write down what comes to you, you will find your purpose. Let's go to clarify your values. Why should we be interested in values? Well, values are really what will prevent us from acting as if we are in a fight as cats and dogs. You know, let me see, it's like crabs in a barrel. Let me see who I can step on to get to where I want to go. The values will shape the way we go about, how we go about striving toward our purpose. We don't have to be putting people down. We need to help each other. And to the extent that you help somebody, you will be helped, because you're living a life where you get back what you give. Isn't that wonderful? That you must know that nothing is wasted. You say, well, I did that favor to that person, and that person didn't do anything back to me. That is not the point. The point is that you are setting the consciousness in the world that you want. You're creating the heaven and earth. And even though you may not get it back from that person, it does mean that life will not find a way to reward you many times over, 1,000 times. So what are we talking about as values? We're talking about love, honesty, wholeness, fairness, equality, justice, loyalty, commitment. These are just some of the many, many values. And you have to decide, what are your 3 or 5 most important values? And once you have decided that, use them to see how you're going to go about achieving what is best for you and best for the world in which you live. And so you can see the values are very important for you to act as if you're part and parcel of this goodness that is life. Remember, it is God acting through you as yourself. And you should understand that you are giving God back an experience that God has never had before, because you have never been here before. And that experience is appreciated by that infinite mind of God. Now let's talk about being optimistic. What do you mean by being optimistic? I love that William James quote where he says, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes." Think about that. How can I change my life? How can I make my life more of what it needs to be? One of the great ways is to be optimistic about life. If you get up in the morning, every morning, and you're feeling, oh my God, it's the same old, same old. You start out with the news, what do you expect? News is about what is wrong with the community, what is wrong with society, what is wrong with the world. So what do you expect? Don't start out with the news. Start out with prayer. Start out with setting the consciousness that good and good alone goes from me and good alone comes back to me. Good, and you say that several times. And begin to look around and find the beauty of the world. The roses are growing wonderfully in my front yard right now. And in the mornings when I get up and open the curtain, I'm peeping through the curtain and I'm seeing, oh, this host of colors. The roses are just screaming nothing but beauty. And it touches my soul, it warms me. And I'm feeling optimistic about life. Why? Because I'm here to bloom as they are blooming. That's what nature does for you. Nature is a book about God. It's telling you about God all the time, if you will pay attention. So, many people do not know that life is the most optimistic thing. I know it doesn't look that way all the time, but just look at that little weed growing in the crack in the gutter where there seems to be no water. And you see, Emerson says we interfere with the optimism of nature. We interfere with it. Why? Because we think negatively. We think in a way that doesn't work. We need to understand that we are surrounded, as Emerson says, by spiritual laws which execute themselves. In other words, they are laws responding to our optimism. We call optimism faith in the Bible. But it is a way of feeling good about life, getting up and say, well, I'm glad there is work for me to do. That is the stuff that people are criticizing. What you're criticizing are simply the work. Lao Tzu says it wonderfully. He says, the bad man is the good man's job. And so all the things that you think are rotten about life means that you will be fully employed all your life. You have something to do. Isn't that amazing? That you can make a difference to people because of how you go about doing this work. Let's talk about learn from failure. In New Thought, there is a tendency for us to say, there's no such thing as failure. All right, if you want to do that, that's fine. I don't do that. Failure is an experience of things that don't work. That's what we call failure. But it doesn't mean you are a failure. We live in a medium of creativity. And we have decisions to make. And we don't always know the path. We don't always know how we're going to get from here to there, or vision or purpose. And we're going to make mistakes along the way. The best and most successful people in the world make mistakes. But they don't see themselves as failure. So from my perspective, life is not about perfection. It's about excellence. It's about getting better as you go along. It's learning from what happens in your life. So the successful person learns from mistake. The overcautious person stays in the confines of a narrow circle of life so that they know everything in that circle, but they never grow. The way we are in this life, we're here for growth and expansion. That's the expansion mindset. You should have that. You do have it. It's potentially there. If you're not using it, it will then limit you to that small circle you have made as to what your life should be. And you will complain about being bored. You'll complain about how life doesn't give you anything or being unhappy. But if you want to know something, you must do what you have never done before. You must go where you have never been before. You must try something new. You must make some mistakes and learn from them and then find the path again. One of my favorite persons, you know this by now, is J.K. Rowling. And she says failure meant a stripping away of the inessential, I stopped pretending to myself that I was anything other than what I was, and began to direct all my energy into finishing the only work that mattered to me. She considered herself a failure up to that point. And so she just said, okay, I failed at all these things. I'm not going to worry about that. My talent is to write. And she said, I'm going to write. And she produced the great Harry Potter series. And this is something that has made her a billionaire. So what we're looking at is that she had her values about her. She wasn't going to stop working. She didn't want to say, well, let me get the dole and I'll just go from hand to mouth and just go on like that. She had a vision, a purpose, and she focused on it, and she did it, and so can you. Now, be persistent. When you're reaching for your star, you can't just go and make a half-hearted effort, not reach where you want to go, not achieve what you want to achieve, and just give up. Too many people have done that. We need to understand that that's not what life is about. The idea is you must be persistent. You must be willing to try and try and try again. And don't just think about it as trying. Think about it as having the inner guidance within you from Spirit to know what to do, when to do it, where to do it, and how to do it. That you're feeling a relational quality about your progress. It's not just you doing it. Yes, you may get up not knowing exactly what you want to do, but you will find out how to do it. And once you start doing that, along with your optimism, you'll find people coming into your life and saying, you know, you could do this, you could do that. And before you know it, there you are doing very well. Know that you're creative. But why do you think you should know that you're creative? You should know that you're creative because you've come this far in your life and you couldn't have made it without creativity. You had to make it up. Life is not something somebody has written out on some book and you say, well, a lot of people want to always read books, and I'm glad that they do because I hope they get my book sometime. But the point is, it's not about books. It's about having this faith in yourself that whatever comes up, there is an answer for me, in me, and through me. And when you have that feeling about yourself, you said, bring it on. Bring it on. I can do this. And you will find that if you have that attitude, you will shift in creativity. And you will always know some way to get the work done. Finally, I can't believe I've gotten through this. Did I get through all of them? Finally, we're going to talk about care about others and yourself. Life is relational. We are interdependent. You are not some little isolated cog floating off in the universe. The farthest star, the farthest galaxies are part and parcel of who you are. You couldn't be here without them. The reason I'm saying this is to get you out of the thought that somehow you're orphaned, that God kind of put you out there and say, you know, do your thing and that's it. We can't do our thing without each other. There's no such thing of living without each other. We're social beings. We're spiritual beings. And the watchword that we should remember is wholeness. This rose could not grow without the bush. And in the natural form, the bush comes with thorns. And when you look at the thorns, you would sometimes say, how can a thorny bush like that produce something so beautiful? And similarly, somebody is going to look at you and say, no, you know, sometimes you have a bad attitude. Sometimes they're hard to get along with. But you have the potential to do the same thing, despite how difficult it seems like you can be sometimes. there is a blooming of the rose that can take place within you. And when it comes about, when you begin to care about others, not just yourself, all of a sudden the world becomes a softer place. The thorns seem to melt away. And in their place comes the feeling of arms that are hugging each other, caressing each other, caring about each other. And all of a sudden, the world didn't really change. You change. You change. The world is still the same world that it always was. But things good and things not so good. But what is the difference? Is that now you have made that transition. So in achieving this, you will find that this is really your resurrection from the past. And that past, that kind of past that you're changing from is dead. The whole purpose of spirituality is transformation. For you to transform into the person that you potentially are. But you need to bring it out. You need to bring it out from within you. And this, when you bring this consciousness out of yourself, and you start living in that consciousness from day to day, where you understand now for the first time what Moses and Jesus meant by love God and love your neighbor as yourself. When you make that a practice, when you make that the way you see the world, then you are in that experience of the ascension. The ascension not of you floating up into the sky and going somewhere, but the ascension in the consciousness of love and peace and goodness and prosperity. And all these things can be yours because you have taken the time to be the person that you were meant to be. And so, my friends, these are guides for reaching your star. And the star is there to get you on track. It doesn't matter as much that you have achieved the goals that you have set. What matters is that you get on the path. And once you're on that path, you will find life opening up for you to live exactly as if you have created heaven on earth, as it is said in Jesus' prayer. And so in summary, the guide is, or includes, clarify, the guide for reaching for your star. Clarify your purpose, which is your star. Clarify your values. Be optimistic. Be persistent. Learn from failure. Care about yourself. Know you're creative. I left up number 6. And care about yourself and others. So this is what we have covered. I didn't think I could get it done, but I think I've gotten it done. So glad you're here. God bless, and go forth your scent. Hello, friend. We're here to work with each other in this wonderful ministry that we are doing together, because we are coming and bringing to you these lessons that we think can change your life, can make them better. In turn, we are asking you to be a partner with us and participate by sending in your support, sending in your contribution, your tithe, and helping the program to reach more people. And so if you are hearing something that you like, we are saying that this is your way to participate, to know that you are important to us, not only by listening to the program and having it change your mind, but by understanding the law of wholeness, the law of circulation, where as you receive, so must you give. As you give, so will you receive. And so look at the screen and see what it is that we're saying that can allow you to easily participate in your giving. And I want to thank you very much for those who have sent us their gift, and for those who are sending it now. Thank you. Bless you all. Let us turn within right now and just feel that sense of the presence as we contemplate our guide for reaching for your star. To know that there is so much more to you than you have experienced, and that there is that anticipation of gladness that we describe as God's attitude toward us, where we have gone from just living this little life to living the more expansive life that can touch others, that can make a difference, that can create that sense of heaven on earth. And we know that each one's contribution is important. Your contribution is important. It's important not only to all of us, it's important to God. And so as we recommit ourselves to living far more expansively than we have, we're realizing we're not just doing it for ourselves, but we're doing it because it allows us to help the world to be better. And knowing that this is the truth, I say, thank you, Father, Mother, God. And together let us affirm, and so it is. Thank you for sharing this time. Peace.